Meghan and Harry, that loan for your Montecito mansion, if it isn't paid back in 30 days, I'll have no choice but to take this to court. Those words did not come from a nameless bank executive. They didn't come from a faceless hedge fund manager. According to explosive new reports circulating in Hollywood, those words came from the one man who stood between the Sussexes and total ruin when they first fled the United Kingdom, Tyler Perry. January 2026 has brought with it a reckoning. For years, we have heard stories about the generosity of the billionaire filmmaker. We heard how he gave them a home, how he gave them security, how he acted as the godfather to their daughter Lilibet. But now, the story has shifted. The godfather has reportedly turned into the creditor, and he is tired of waiting. This isn't a leak about a feud. This is a story about a specific, tangible debt, a serious chunk of change allegedly lent to bridge the gap for the purchase of their $14 million Montecito estate. And the moment Tyler Perry said those words out loud, everything changed. Because let's be very clear about what this means. Meghan Markle and Prince Harry could lose their home. Not to the tabloids, not to the royal family, but to the man who saved them. When a man worth $1 billion threatens court, it is not a bluff. It is a final step. You don't go public like this unless private reminders were ignored, unless calls weren't returned, and unless patience has completely run out. The real shock isn't that Tyler Perry spoke. The real shock is that the Sussexes let it get this far. To understand the gravity of this betrayal, we have to rewind to the chaos of 2020. This is crucial context that explains the emotional weight of this debt. When Harry and Meghan left Canada, they were in free fall. The royal family had pulled their security. They had no permanent base in the US. They were isolated, terrified, and hemorrhaging money. This is when Tyler Perry stepped in quietly. He didn't know them well, but he sympathized with their narrative of victimhood. He gave them the keys to his $18 million Beverly Hills estate. He provided a full security detail, which cost millions per year. At the time, this was framed as pure Hollywood altruism. But generosity creates a dynamic. It creates a debt of gratitude. And according to sources, that hospitality didn't end when they moved out. It evolved into hard currency. Allegedly, when the Sussexes found the Chateau of Riven Rock in Montecito, they didn't have the liquidity to close the deal immediately. Their Netflix and Spotify money hadn't hit the bank yet. They needed a bridge. And who did they turn to? The man who had already opened his doors. The report suggests that Tyler Perry provided millions of dollars to help secure the down payment and closing costs. Here is the part that legal experts and Hollywood insiders find fascinating. This loan wasn't structured like a mortgage from Bank of America. It wasn't blasted across headlines. It was likely structured informally, based on a handshake and a promise. In the world of the ultra-wealthy, this happens. You help a friend, you transfer the funds. You expect that when their big checks clear, yours will be returned. It was a deal built on trust. Tyler Perry, by all accounts, believed he was helping friends get on their feet. He believed the hype that they were about to become the richest couple in Hollywood. But here is the uncomfortable truth about lending money to friends. You don't loan millions to people who are actually financially independent. You loan millions to people who need it. And when repayments stop, when texts go unanswered, the relationship changes instantly. It stops being about friendship and starts being about respect. This is the part of the story where the narrative turns dark. According to insiders cited throughout the record, the problem wasn't the existence of the loan. The problem was the silence. Tyler Perry didn't suddenly wake up angry. He didn't flip overnight. He went quiet because the Sussexes allegedly went quiet first. Sources suggest that as the years dragged on, the repayment schedule slowed and then stopped. We know Meghan Markle's pattern. We saw it with her father. We saw it with her best friend, Jessica Mulroney. When a relationship becomes difficult or transactional, she has a tendency to cut the cord. The ghosting. But you cannot ghost a billionaire who holds your debt. Multiple outlets point to ignored reminders, unreturned calls from Perry's business managers, and a growing sense in Perry's camp that he was being taken for granted. He wasn't being treated as a priority. He was being treated as a fallback option. This wasn't about hurt feelings. It was about the audacity of living in a mansion you haven't fully paid for, while ignoring the man who helped you buy it. Once that communication breaks down, the only language left is enforcement. That is how you go from Godfather Perry to plaintiff. Why didn't they just pay him back? This is the billion-dollar question. If they signed deals worth $100 million, why is a loan to Tyler Perry an issue? Let's kill the fantasy right now. Contracts are not cash flow. Yes, Spotify signed them for $20 million, but that deal collapsed. It is dead. Bill Simmons, a Spotify executive, publicly called them grifters. They didn't produce enough content, so they didn't get the full payout. That is a massive hole in their budget. Yes, Netflix signed them, but the initial payment for the Harry and Meghan documentary is long gone. It has been spent on taxes, agents, lawyers, PR firms, and lifestyle. Their follow-up projects? Heart of Invictus flopped. Pearl was canceled. Meghan's cooking show? As we've discussed, unwatchable. The residuals are not flowing in the way they expected. By 2025, the Sussex brand wasn't generating new money. It was surviving on old money. And when you are living a billionaire lifestyle on a millionaire budget, the math eventually breaks. We need to talk about the burn rate. This is a business term for how fast you spend your cash reserves. The Montecito mansion is not just a house. It is a corporation that requires massive funding to operate. We are talking about a $14 million mortgage carrying massive interests. We are talking about property taxes that likely exceed $200,000 a year. We are talking about private security. Since they lost their royal protection, they have to pay for 24/7 armed guards. That bill alone is estimated at $2 million to $3 million a year. We are talking about staff nannies, housekeepers, gardeners, estate managers, PR teams, lawyers. When you add it all up, their annual operating cost is likely over $10 million. If the Spotify money is gone and the Netflix money is drying up, where does that $10 million come from? It comes from the reserves. It comes from the money that should have gone to Tyler Perry. This is why repayment plans quietly collapse. When you have to choose between paying for your armed guards or paying back your billionaire friend, you pay the guards. Self-preservation wins every time. Here's the truth nobody in Hollywood wanted to say out loud until now. After Megxit, Harry and Meghan were operating without a net. For his entire life, Harry had a safety net. If he overspent, the Duchy of Cornwall covered it. If he needed security, the Met Police provided it. When they left, they assumed that if things got really bad, King Charles would step in. They assumed that Prince William would not let his brother go bankrupt. They were wrong. King Charles shut the tap off. Prince William closed the ranks. The Bank of Pa is officially closed. Whatever sympathy once existed evaporated after the memoirs, the interviews, and the Scorched Earth press tour. You cannot accuse your family of racism and abuse on global television and then expect them to wire you cash when your mortgage is due. By 2024, the Sussexes were isolated. No palace buffer, no discreet assistance. So when the Hollywood money started to wobble, there was no invisible hand to steady the fall. Which means when Tyler Perry demanded repayment, there was nowhere else to look. No safety net, no cavalry, just deadlines. Let's be very clear about what Tyler Perry's ultimatum actually threatens. He isn't just threatening to take the house. He is threatening to take the narrative. In the U.S. legal system, a lawsuit triggers a process called discovery. This is the phase where both sides have to share evidence. If Tyler Perry sues them for the loan, his lawyers can demand bank records to prove they have the funds, tax returns to show their income, emails and text messages between Harry, Meghan, and Tyler regarding the loan, asset disclosures showing what they actually own versus what is leveraged. This is the nuclear scenario. If the public sees their bank records, the independence narrative dies. If the public sees begging texts to Tyler Perry, the global icon image dies. Discovery would expose the grift. It would show the world exactly how precarious their finances are. And here is the part that should make anyone nervous. If one private loan goes to court, all the others surface too. Every handshake deal, every temporary bridge, every promise tied to future projects. It creates a domino effect. This isn't about one mansion. This is about whether the entire house of cards survives the daylight. Notice what hasn't happened since this story broke. There has been no denial, no clear statement from Archewell, no documentation released to shut this down, just silence. And in financial disputes, silence is not confidence, it is calculation. Sources close to the situation suggest frantic asset reviews are happening behind the scenes. They are looking at liquidity. Meghan possesses pieces worth millions, including Diana's watches and bracelets. Are they being appraised? Can they sell future rights to Harry's book? Can they downsize? But selling the Montecito house in a distressed sale would confirm the rumors. They are trapped. To sell the house is to admit defeat. To keep the house is to face Tyler Perry in court. Now we go from personal finances to institutional rot. Because the moment the personal accounts started wobbling, the foundation followed. According to tax filings and reports referenced in the transcript, Archewell has had its own crisis. Expenses ballooned past $5 million, while donations dropped to roughly $2 million in a single year. Staff were cut. IRS attention intensified. Delinquency notices surfaced before being resolved. But in finance, resolved doesn't mean forgotten. Audits don't care about branding. They care about numbers. Insiders allege blurred lines between personal lifestyle costs and foundation expenses. When you are desperate for cash, the temptation to dip into foundation resources or to charge expenses to the charity grows. When auditors circle, accounts freeze. When accounts freeze, lenders panic. Tyler Perry is a smart businessman. He likely saw the headlines about Archewell's delinquency and realized that the ship was taking on water. That is when a creditor moves from patient to aggressive. You want to get your money out before the ship sinks? Tyler Perry is the first to speak, but he is likely not the only one. This is how financial avalanches start. One voice breaks the silence. Is there a publisher waiting for a second book that hasn't been written? Is there a production company waiting for a script that hasn't been delivered? Are there lawyers with unpaid invoices? If Tyler Perry, the Godfather, the friend, the savior, is willing to go public, it signals to every other creditor that the friendship protection is gone. It is open season. No one wants to be the last fool waiting quietly for a check that isn't coming. The clock is ticking. The 30 days are counting down. The lenders are watching. And whether this ends in court, a forced sale, or a humiliating settlement behind closed doors, one thing is already clear. The Montecito mansion was never the beginning of their freedom. It was the receipt, and the bill has finally come due. The Montecito mansion still looks peaceful from the outside. The roses still bloom. The ocean still glitters. The gates still close behind luxury cars. But houses don't care about image. They remember numbers. Every unpaid dollar is etched into the walls. Every favor-turned obligation lingers in the silence of the hallways. Every ignored reminder from Tyler Perry echoes louder at night. This house was supposed to represent freedom. It was supposed to be the symbol of their escape from the toxic royal family. Instead, it became proof that their freedom was borrowed. And borrowed things always come with terms. Tyler Perry didn't destroy a dream. He exposed the cost of one. Because independence built on loans isn't independence, it is delay. And delay always ends the same way, with a reckoning.